One.
Welcome everyone to the Crystal Starnes Show with your host Crystal Starnes, and today we have a special co-host, Lil Saint.
What's up, everybody? I am Lil Saint from the Lil Saint Show, and I'm excited to be here.
And I'm excited to have you on the show today, Lil Saint.
Well, it's an honor, and I know somebody had to twist my arm today. No, you know what? I enjoy being around you, being in the same circle as you. So
That's awesome. We also have a special guest from, I believe, New York, who came the whole way out to California today because we're all at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
And his name is Marty
McFly?
Garrett.
Oh,
I
Marty
get that all
Garrett.
the time, Marty McFly, but I know what you're talking about. It's Marty Garrett.
So let's welcome Marty Garrett to the show. How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing great. I was doing any better to be a sin.
Aw. So what brought you today out to the Oscars?
Well, it's the Oscars. Say no more. But also, I know I get an opportunity to meet a lot of people and have a great time and meet people like yourself. And it's always a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I'm
what
glad
has
you're
been
here.
the biggest thing that you liked here at the Oscars so far?
Well, obviously, there's a series of things that I like.
Besides the women.
Well, that goes without saying. But, obviously the different categories. And, this year it seems to me there was a cross-section of different winners. And it was very interesting to see who won. And, I was surprised with the best movie. I thought Elvis was going to win. So I was a little surprised by that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess let's hear a little bit about your background.
Well, I've been doing movies for about a little over a decade. I've done 3 movies, 2 were made. Angelfish was made, that was my last movie. And then prior to that, I did 79 parts. A lot of people ask me about these movies, but I get more questions about my association with my old pal, Frank Sinatra, who was a great guy. And I'd like to talk a little today about him.
That would be awesome. I'd love to hear about Frank Sinatra.
Well, first of all, the first time me and one of my friends met Sinatra, we were at Patsy's on West 57th Street. We went into the restaurant. All of a sudden, Frank comes in with a few people. He's seated alongside the wall, and my friend goes right up to him. I says, "It's Frank Sinatra. I'm not going anywhere near him. That guy's a god." My buddy says, "Nah, I know people that know him." So he goes up, talks to him. Next thing I know, from across the restaurant, my buddy and Frank Sinatra going, "Marty boy," they're just calling me over. It was like, pinch me. I mean, what planet am I on? Frank Sinatra's calling me over to his table? I mean, come on. And when I get there, he gives me a big hug, gives me a kiss, and he says to the waiter, "Whatever Marty boy wants, get it for him." And I said, "Thank you, Mr. Sinatra." And he looks at me, "Frank." And then we saw him a few months later, and he did the same thing for me. And he's just a great guy. He was a great guy. Obviously, it's coming up to 25 years since he's been gone. In May, it'll be 25 years. Not a week goes by I don't think about him. I'd like to tell you one really good Frank Sinatra story. A lot of people know this story, but I think you'll enjoy it. Many years ago, Frank was at a restaurant, and Don Rickles runs into him. He says, "Frank, I'm here with my girl. Could you come by the table and say hello?" Frank's the kind of guy, any reasonable request, he's going to do it. So, a little later on in the dinner, Frank comes up to Don Rickles' table. He says, "Don, how you doing?" "Frank, we're right in the middle of dinner. Could you come back some other time?" And that's like a very funny story, and it's like one of my favorites about Frank Sinatra. But he was just a great guy, and not a week goes by I don't think about him, and I miss him.
I think that's an awesome story, and I think it's great that you met such an icon such as Frank Sinatra. I think he's just an amazing person.
Yeah, he certainly was, and his legacy, he'll always be, on the Mount Rushmore of, great people in this country.
Right.
And his music still lives on to this day.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what what you're doing, like with your movies and stuff? I mean, do you have any projects you're working on?
There's a couple of things that I had an opportunity very recently to do a movie, but what's important to me is probably the same thing that was important to Frank, my legacy. And there was a part, and I was just very uncomfortable doing it. I just couldn't do it. So at this point, I mean, I'm open to a lot of things, but there are a few things that I just refuse to do. And as a result, I didn't, I had an opportunity to do it. It would have been a pretty good size role for me, but I wasn't comfortable doing it. So most roles I'll do, but there are going to be times that unfortunately it happens, and some actors don't care. I do. And I want my legacy, I'm not as young as I used to be. I want it to be, when people look back and see the movies that I was in, to be something that was either funny or uplifting. And that's important to me.
What would you say who has been your biggest inspiration as far as the movies?
Oh,
what actor?
That's easy. Patrick Swayze. He takes
Roadhouse.
That's a shocker.
Roadhouse.
Patrick Swayze, when he goes into a scene, he's the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, another guy, again, he died very young, unfortunately, but if you look at his roles, he just commands your attention on that screen.
Mm-hmm.
The way he was a really bright guy. I think he was a little too bright for Hollywood. They would ask him questions. They would bring him on to like late night shows, and they were looking for something funny, and he would break it down. His scenes, it was scientific. He was that bright a guy, and it's funny. Like he was one of the sexiest men alive. But he stayed with his high school sweetheart. I think Lisa Naomi, I think her name is, all those years. And obviously the temptation would have been there. I mean, he was, a really good-looking guy, and he was a leading man in Hollywood. But he continued to spend all of his time, his attention on his wife. And you got to respect him for that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's very respectful.
Yes.
So, you want to ask
When you're
me
not
a
doing
question?
movies, what do you like to do?
I love horse racing. Kentucky Derby's coming
You got
up.
horses?
I do have horses.
I didn't know about that. We're going to talk about that one day. Kentucky Derby season's coming up. Obviously, the Preakness, the Belmont Stakes. I go up to Saratoga every summer, the Travers, and a lot of top people come from all over the country to go to the Travers. It's a big day. It's one of my favorites, and I love the spectacle of horse racing. I've been involved in it. Wow. Closing in on 50 years that I've had an interest in it. So it's just, I don't know, the pageantry and trying to select who's going to win. And there's just a lot of things I like about it. It's been part of my life for decades, and that's one of my enjoyments.
That's great. I love horses, so I'm sure it's a lot of fun. I've never been to a horse race, though.
Oh, well, you got to find yourself over there. Maybe do something from a location during a big racing day.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a lot of fun.
Okay. I'll have to
Yes.
look into it. Is there anything else that you want to tell the audience about, everything that
What's
you're
your
doing?
do you have social media?
Yes, I do.
Where can the audience find you, connect with you, and
Well, there's two main. I mean, I'm rarely on Twitter, but when it comes to Instagram,
who's on Twitter nowadays?
I know.
Nobody.
Sorry, Elon. But the two mediums that I'm on the most would have to be Facebook, where it's Marty Garrett, and Instagram, Sir Marty Garrett. And you'll be able to find me there, connect with me. If you'd like to follow me, that's fine. I can follow you back. And if you have something interesting to say, I'd certainly be interested in talking to you. While we're at the thing, one last thing I'd like to close with. I sat next to Don the Dragon Wilson. I've been around many celebrities in many different forms. He's one of the most interesting guys I ever came across, because he was not only he was in 40 films, but he was one of the top martial artists in the entire country. He's in his late 60s. He keeps himself in phenomenal shape. And he was telling me about Chuck Norris, about Hulk Hogan, about all these famous people, and they were in movies, and he did a lot of movies with these guys and other different people. And like, he was telling me some stuff I could probably talk to you about, some stuff I probably shouldn't talk to you about. So he was very interesting. I enjoyed my time talking with him today at my at the Oscars.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I love talking with you. I love finally meeting you in person, you know. And thank you, Lil Saint, for coming on. Yeah, I'm always happy to have you on. So.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here, and maybe we can start making more things happen together. I mean, I know we live in like cross states and everything, but I'm pretty sure we can make something happen.
And, you know, right now, if you would like to talk about your podcast and maybe, you know, tell the audience where they can find you as well.
So you can find me at lilsaintshow.com, L-I-L saintshow.com. You can book RSVP a seat there. We are every Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right after the Voice for Victims show, which is at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can check us out at facebook.com/The Lil Saint Show. And Instagram is The Lil Saint Show as well. So we whatever you guys want, we'll make it happen. And we bring on entrepreneurs, movie celebs like you know, and we just chop it up. You know, we get to learn about you, chop it up, and then we do a motivational, you know, session. So, yeah, that's where you can find us. And
awesome. Well, everyone knows where to go for Lil Saint and then Marty Garrett. And then for myself, you can also go to crystalstarnes.com if you want to come on the show. I'd love to hear from all of you. And I'm going to thank Just TV for having us on the air today. And I just want to thank everyone for watching. Until next time, take care, everyone.